Good morning. How many of you have ever lost something? I see one person with two hands raised. It's an interesting loss there. Losing a lot. We lose things fairly often. I actually lose things a lot because I will set things down thinking that I know where I'm putting it, and I actually just kind of forget where I set it down. Have you ever been looking for your car keys and you just can't find them, and you're in a hurry, you're going to be late, you can't find your car keys, and you're searching high and low for your car keys and you cannot find them. And then you finally find them, and you remember how excited you get. Probably more excited than you are right now, right? You get excited when you find the thing that you've been looking for, or you lose your wallet or your purse. And that one's really scary because not only can you not leave or go, you have no resource to go buy anything. If you need to buy things, your mind starts racing. I need to call the bank, cancel my card. I got to call the credit card agencies. Do I even remember all the credit cards that I have? Oh no, what do I do? Right? Your mind starts racing because it's very important. And then you finally find it, and you're so excited because you find the thing that you have been looking for. In the Gospel of Luke, Jesus tells us 3 consecutive stories about people who have lost something and how they react when that lost something is found. And the stories he tells are not of lost wallets or lost keys, but they are of lost coins and of lost sheep. Something that the people of that time could relate to. And you get excited when you lose things. And that's actually part of the point that Jesus is trying to drive home, because in this sequence of stories, what he's really doing is setting the stage. You see, any good storyteller isn't just launch into a story, but they will set the stage sometimes so that the last thing they say is a little different than what you might expect. You remember the story of the Good Samaritan we looked at a few weeks ago. And the priest goes by, the person that's been injured and is laying on the side of the road. And the Levite goes by, and you think the third person, some super religious Jewish person, is going to come by and help. And Jesus hits you with the twist. Because it's not a Jewish person at all. It's a Samaritan, someone the Jewish people despised. You could even use the word hated. That's the one that went by. That's the one that helped. That's the one that celebrated Jubilee with this injured person. And here in Luke chapter 15, Jesus is setting the stage with a couple of very short stories to kind of get the people in the groove of how they're supposed to feel when you lose something. And he tells a story of a lost sheep. And how the shepherd leaves all the sheep behind because there's one of their sheep is lost, and that sheep is so valuable to him. And when he brings the sheep back, there's rejoicing. Right? He tells a story of a lost coin. And how the person is searching and searching and searching for this lost coin, and they're desperately looking for it, and they finally find the coin, and they tell everyone, "You're not going to believe it. I found the coin," and everyone celebrates. The idea is when you lose something and then you find it, you celebrate. And everybody agrees when you lose your keys and you find them, you celebrate. You might not call your neighbors or send them a text message and say, "You're not going to believe what I just did. I found my car keys." You probably won't go that far with it. But if you're looking for a lost coin and that coin is the only thing you have, you might tell some people about it. And those people are going to be happy for you. And the question that we have before us in the third story, because Jesus has already primed the pump, and he knows the next story should end with everyone absolutely rejoicing. But the real question is, will everyone rejoice? Will everyone celebrate? Just like they did with the lost sheep and just like they did with the lost coin? Will they celebrate? Or will they feel conflicted? Let's read the story together. It's the tale of 2 sons. You can call this parable whatever you want to call it. I like to change the name so that it means something different. You might know it as the story of the prodigal son. Some people call it the story of the elder brother. Some people call it the story of the compassionate father. Whatever name you want to give it, we're going to read all of the story. Then Jesus said, there was a man who had 2 sons. Now, this might not prompt a lot of imagery for you, the fact that Jesus is going to tell a story about 2 sons, but in fact, if you're an ancient Jewish person living 2,000 years ago, this will immediately conjure up all sorts of similar stories that they know. Jacob and Esau, Isaac and Ishmael, Judah and Israel, right? Northern kingdom and southern kingdom. Edom and Israel, they have all of these stories about brothers who live in conflict with one another. So when Jesus says there was a man who had 2 sons, they already have in mind all of these stories in their head of people who had 2 sons and how Israel itself was actually 2 sons at one point. The younger of them said to his father, "Father, give me the share of the wealth that will belong to me." Now, this is a fairly brazen request, but the father apparently has no problem with it. Because it says, so he divided his assets between them. Who does this father give his assets to? Both of them. This is an important detail. Oftentimes we look at this and we think, man, that younger son, what is wrong with him? He wants his father to die. And it is a fairly brazen request. Give me what belongs to me. But he's only asking for what belongs to him. He's not asking for what belongs to his brother or what will one day belong to his brother. He said, the thing that's going to come to me eventually, can I have it now? And it was something that didn't happen often, but it did happen in the ancient world where fathers would distribute to their children. My father is one such case. The house that I lived in growing up from the age of 2 until I moved down at 19, that house was built on property that would one day be inherited to my father. But my father built on it before his father had ever died. Was my father wishing my grandfather had died? No, he just needed a place to live, and my grandfather said, well, one day this will be yours, so you can live on it now. You can have it now. You can work the land now. One day it will all be yours, but for now you can do these things. This is what's happening here. This younger son has things he wants to do, and the father says, that's okay. I will divide my property between both of you. That both will be important later on in the story. A few days later, the younger son gathered all he had and traveled to a distant region. And there he wasted his wealth in wild and reckless living. So the son had a plan. As is often thought about younger people, speaking of youth, sometimes younger people don't make the wisest financial decisions that you've ever heard of. Sometimes they just go out and they have whatever money they make, they spend on everything that they have, right? I made money, I spend money. I made $200, I spend $250 because I'll make more money next week. That's kind of the way that a lot of us live, in that kind of unwise state of spending more than we make and thinking, well, I'll make more next time. I can make up for what I spent that I didn't have. And we kind of work ourselves into a hole. This was his plan all along. I'm going to ask my dad for what belongs to me. My dad is a nice guy. He is going to give it to me. And what he doesn't know is in 3 days' time, I'm going to leave this joint. I got plans. I got big plans. I'm going to travel. I'm going to see the world. I'm going to go party. I'm going to live the life I've always wanted to live that Dad won't let me live here at his house. I'm going to go do it over there. And things are going to be great. And you know the way we always think, I'm going to go do my thing. I'm going to go do it. It's going to be great. Everything's going to work out for me. But it turns out he wasted everything. He wasted everything that he had. And parties and wild living till it was all gone. Now what's he going to ask for? Everything that belonged to him had already been given to him. And he used all of it. So now what? When he had spent everything, a severe famine took place throughout the region, and he began to be in need. He may have wasted all his wealth, but at least he could still maybe find a job and get some work and grow some crops or get some... No, now there's a famine. Just went from bad to worse. Went from bad to impossible. There's no food anywhere. There's a famine all over the land. If this sounds like a child that's been moved into exile, that's reflective of Israel's history too. It's one of the things that listeners in the first century would have thought of when they heard the stories. That kind of sounds like us, actually, when we disobeyed and we ended up in exile. This story sounds a lot like us. Now there's a famine. He began to be in need. So he went and he hired himself out to one of the citizens of that region. So now he's working for a Gentile. Because remember, he's in a far-off land, and now he's working for a Gentile who sent him to his field to feed the pigs. Now, that might not sound like much to you either. There's so much history in this story that needs to kind of be understood, because if you're a Jewish person, you did not ever want to be around pigs. It was just the worst you could ever. Pigs are unclean animals. You can't eat them. You don't want to be around them. They're kind of useless in that sense. You don't want to be near a pig, and yet he is so desperate and so in need that when a Gentile says, I'll hire you to work with pigs, he says, okay, I'll do it. I don't know if you've ever been that lost. I don't think I've ever been that lost, where I would just be willing to do anything. I would degrade myself to any level to fill my need. But that's where he is, and that is what he is doing. It says he would have gladly have filled his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, and no one gave him anything. Turns out it looks like he's working for free. Can I have the slop that we give to the pigs? You can't have the slop that we give to the pigs. I can't have the food that the pigs eat? You can't have the food the pigs eat. Well, what am I going to eat? I don't know. Figure it out. It's a famine. First pigs, then you. But when he came to his senses, he said, how many of my father's hired hands have bread enough and to spare? But here I am dying of hunger. So he realizes the state of these men. He says, I'm starting to formulate another plan. I'm going to enact part B of my plan, where I go back to my father groveling and begging. He says, I seem to remember back at my father's house that the servants had plenty of bread to eat. Sometimes they had food to spare. Maybe I could have some of that. That sounds very Lucan, doesn't it? It sounds very much like something Luke would say. If someone has bread to spare, maybe they'll give me some. But here I am. I'm dying of hunger. I will get up and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of your hired hands. So he set off and went to his father. But while he was still far off, his father saw him. Now this is where things start to get interesting, because what do you expect the father to do? Most of us here know the story. Some of you here, maybe you've heard the story, but you don't know it all that well, and maybe for some, this is the first time you've ever heard it. But if you're a father and you know that your son has taken everything that you gave them, everything that was going to be theirs, and they went off into a far land and they just wasted it on absolutely sinful, awful, God-forsaken behavior, and then they come groveling back to you, your instinct may be one of two things. You may say, what are you doing here? You're going to come back to me now? Now you're going to come back? No. Get out of my house. Get off my property. Stay off my lawn. You're a rebellious son, and you deserve to be punished. So go out there. You made your bed. Now sleep in it. That's one reaction. It's a reaction many of us can actually relate to. Some of you have probably maybe even been in this position, where you have a child that went and lived a life that was just God-forsaken and awful. And when they have no other options left, you were their last choice. How do you react? The other option, actually, I guess there's three. You could hire him back as a hired servant, just the way the son wants. The other reaction is one of compassion. One that says, I know you blew it, but welcome home. says the father, still afar off, his father saw him. It gives you this idea that the father has perhaps been looking for him this whole time. He's been scanning the horizon day after day and night after night and week after week, wondering, is he ever going to come home? You know, we all have Life 360 on our phones, or a lot of us do, and we can track our kids. I mean, I know exactly where they're at. If they're somewhere, you're like, what are you doing there? And you'll text them, hey, what are you doing there, right? No such device existed. The son's gone. Where? Doesn't know. How far? Doesn't know. For how long? Doesn't know. He doesn't know anything. But he's expecting that his son will come back. And so he's looking for him. He's still far off. He sees a silhouette off in the distance. He says, that's him. I recognize his walk. That's my boy. So he set off and went to his father. But while he was still afar off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. He ran. I just want to stop there for a second. Remember when we talked about Zacchaeus? And he ran to a tree and he climbed that tree with his childlike faith because he wanted to see Jesus. We talked about how kind of embarrassing it is if you see a full-grown person running around. Even by today's standards, if I were to just take off and start running up and down, well, you might think you're at a different church, but if I start running up and down the aisles here, you would probably think something's wrong with Rob. And you'd probably be right. But he runs to him. He runs to him. It says he's filled with compassion. He ran and put his arms around him and kissed him. Then the son said to him, I have a speech prepared. Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. You remember he had more to say than this. What he wants to finish by saying is, please hire me as one of your hired servants. I'll work out in the field with all the other servants. I'm going to be a slave for you. And he says, but you're not a slave, you're a son. But the father said to his slaves, quickly, bring out a robe, the best one. It gives hints of Joseph and his brothers. There's all these brother stories that come to mind. Give him the best one and put it on him. This is actually a hint as what the elder brother, remember there were two brothers? Remember he divided his possessions between both of them? This is a hint about how the elder brother is going to react. Will he react like Joseph's brothers when he got a special coat? I said this in my class on Mark this morning. Scripture is so rich. There's so much there, just in tiny little snippets. But if you know how to dig and you know how to mine, you can find gold. Bring out a robe, the best one, and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. These are not things that servants wear. These are things that sons wear. These are things that people who have authority wear. And get the fatted calf and kill it. I love this. Growing up on a farm and around farmers, they did have special animals that they would fatten just for a moment like this. Kind of like you might have a special bottle of drink somewhere for a special occasion, and it's just waiting for that special moment. You don't just drink it any old time. You don't just eat it any old time. There's a time for it. It reminds me of a story of my sister who had, it wasn't special bacon, but she had bacon that she had bought and she was saving it for a special day where she was going to cook bacon and whatever as a family. And my parents go and my dad makes himself at home everywhere he goes, which is great, unless you have special bacon in the refrigerator. My sister wakes up and to the smell of bacon. And what are you doing? I'm cooking bacon for the family. Got eggs and bacon. She's like, that bacon was for her, right? It was something special. The father says, get the fatted calf. It's been being saved. I've been caring for it, feeding it, making sure it was ready for a time when it was a time to celebrate. Then you kill the calf. Then you have a feast. Then you throw a party, but it's there for a special reason. Saying, get the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again, was lost and is found. And they began to celebrate, just like you celebrate when you lose a sheep, or you lose a coin, or you lost your keys. How much more so when your son, or your daughter, or your family, or someone you care about deeply comes back. They were lost. You found them, and they're here, and you love them, and you bless them, and you say, you are part of the family. You belong here. By the way, you belong here. And they began to celebrate. What are they celebrating? What special feast might they be celebrating? Anyone? Any takers? Going once, going twice. Jubilee. They began to celebrate Jubilee because the one who's lost everything is being restored. The great reset button has been hit, and he's being restored fully and completely to where he belongs. That's the grace of God, and that's the grace that God calls us to have with one another. Full restoration, full reconciliation. Now his elder brother. The elder brother. Now his elder son was in the field. And as he came and approached the house, he heard music and dancing. He called one of the slaves and asked, what was going on? What's going on here? Why the party? Something amazing must have transpired. But what? How do I not know about this? I mean, I've been here working day and night endlessly for my father. Why did someone not come and rush and tell me about this great news, whatever it is? The servant replied, your brother has come, and your father has killed the fatted calf because he has got him back safe and sound. How do you think the elder brother reacts? Remember the story, the lineup. The anticipation's been set, right? They celebrate the lost sheep. They celebrate the lost coin. The father and all the servants are celebrating at the lost son, but there's one more person that's supposed to be celebrating. Will he? Will he do the obvious thing? It feels like it should be obvious, and yet you know that it's not. Because if you're the older brother and you hear that the special calf that you've probably been making sure is well fed and taken care of has now been killed because this brother of yours who went out and squandered all of the possessions that the father was going to give to him as an inheritance is now back. I don't really feel like partying today. Kind of reminds me of Joseph's brothers. Kind of reminds me of Jonah a little bit. When he doesn't think the Assyrians should be accepted by God, and God says, well, I want to accept them. And it's my prerogative. I'm God. I do what I want. Prophets don't get to tell God what to do. They're supposed to tell people what God said, not tell God what God's supposed to do. At this point, we don't know the reaction of the elder brother, but if you understand and know Scripture a little bit, you kind of already sense where this is going. It says, your brother has come, and your father has killed the fatted calf because he has got him back safe and sound. Then he became angry and refused to go in. So what does Dad do? It's very important to see this and understand this in Luke. Very rarely in Luke do these stories end with God rejecting people. The story of the Pharisee and the tax collector from last week when they were praying, it says that the tax collector was more justified than the Pharisee. It doesn't say the Pharisee was not justified at all. It is more justified. When the woman washes Jesus' feet with her tears and dries them with her hair, he doesn't say, Simon, you Pharisee, you didn't love at all. He says, no, you love little. She loves more. So what does Dad do? Dad does what he always does. He loves all his kids. His father came out and began to plead with him. Parents begging in the ancient world it's not really something that was looked upon with great pride. No one would have seen the story and thought, what a loving and humble father. It would have rubbed them in a way, it's like, wow, he must really love his kids because I wouldn't do that. You wouldn't catch me running through a field to hug my son who had rebelled. You wouldn't catch me doing that. Around here begging. Have you ever begged your children? I mean, I have. Go to bed, please. I'm begging you. I've done that. You ever begged your children? He's begging. He's pleading. Because the party's not quite complete unless everyone's celebrating. But he answered his father, listen. For all these years, you think the younger son was disrespectful for asking? Just listen to this. Listen. You ever told your parents when they're talking to you, stop right there. Listen to me now. Woo! Listen, Linda, listen. Listen, Linda, if you remember that video. Anyway, listen. For all these years, I've been working like a slave for you. Why? Why is he working like a slave? He's not a slave. He's a son. All these years, I've been working like a slave for you, and I have never disobeyed your command. Oftentimes people will read this and say, that's not true, he's a liar. It doesn't say he's lying. Just like the Pharisee and the tax collector, the prayer where he says, God, thank you for not making me like this person or that person, the adulterer, the one that takes advantage of people, or even this tax collector. All those things were true. He wasn't like that. These could all be very true. He has been there day and night. He has been working hard. He does everything his dad tells him to do. Except when dad says, come celebrate. This is an open-ended question in the parable. We don't know what he does. Let's keep reading. It says, I've been working so hard for you, yet you have never given me even a young goat. Excuse me. He divided his possessions between both of them. What do you mean you didn't have a young goat to celebrate with your friends? Of course you did. And the father will say that. He said, but when this son of yours, not my brother, we all know how to word things to kind of, turn the knife a little bit, make it hurt a little worse. When this son of yours, you mean your younger brother? No, I mean your son. We do that game in our family sometimes when the kid is acting up, and they're acting up in a way that you would act up. And your kid, what do you mean my kid? It's our kid. Well, today he's acting like you. This is your kid. When this son of yours came back, who has devoured your assets with prostitutes, you killed the fatted calf for him? We're in church. In church, we want to say, I identify with the younger son and the father. This elder brother is out of line. I can't relate at all. Yes, you can. Get real. Someone took the possessions of your parent who loves them and cares for them and watched over them, and they take everything that belonged to them and they go and they waste it. And then they come groveling back when it's all gone. Don't tell me you don't feel something that says, serves you right. Because you do. I do. Don't fire me, but I do. It's an instinct that we have to fight against. Because this is a natural reaction when you feel like, do you think he loves his father? Do you think the elder son loves his father? Absolutely. He absolutely does. But he's entered territory that he's not familiar with, and he doesn't understand what dad is doing. He doesn't understand how dad could act this way when the son has been so obviously full of sin. And now what? What, he comes back, he just gets everything back? Welcome to Jubilee. This is the reason why we have exactly 0 accounts of Jubilee ever being celebrated. Nehemiah comes close. Because it's hard. It's hard to see someone when they've messed up and it's all their fault. Everything they're experiencing is absolutely their fault. It's hard to say, that's okay. You're back, and that's all I care about. But that's the grace of God. That's Jubilee. It doesn't matter how you got where you are. Fact is, you're back now. Let's start over. That's tough. And the elder brother is wrestling with this. And you can see it. He's like, this son of yours, he comes back. He's wasted all of your money on prostitutes. You kill a fatted calf. You didn't kill a fat calf for me. I've been here faithful this whole time. Then the father said to him, son, you were always with me. Does that sound like rejection to you? No. You're always with me. All that is mine is yours. But you're in the wrong house. You just got to go deeper. You just got to drive deeper. Everything you're doing is great. You're working. You're serving. You're here with me. This is perfect. I just need you to do one more thing. We have to celebrate and rejoice because this brother of yours, not this son of mine, this brother of yours was dead. He has come to life. If someone had lost a coin because they were reckless, wouldn't you still be happy when they found it? Yeah, you would. If a sheep had gotten away because you looked away for a moment and realized, oh, I'm supposed to have 100 sheep, I only have 99 here. Would you still be happy when the shepherd comes back with the lost sheep? Sure you would. What's the shepherd's fault? Who cares? The sheep's back. That's her fault for not taking better track of her coins. Who cares? The coin's been found. It's his fault because he went out and lived a reckless life. Who cares? He's back now. Oh, it's hard. They said, we had to celebrate. Remember when Jesus looked at Zacchaeus and said, I must go to your house. We must celebrate and rejoice because this brother of yours was dead and he's come to life. He was lost and has been found. And that's how the parable ends. So will the church be the father or the elder son when the rebellious return? You see, this parable was very much about Jesus' own ministry and what people were seeing in his own ministry. He says, the healthy do not need a doctor, but the sick need a doctor. And I have come, I am the doctor. So when you see me surrounded by those who are sick, they have come for healing. They've come for acceptance. They have come for belonging. And what I expect all of you who aren't sick to do is celebrate when they come. Fully restored, full Jubilee, all back in order, all as it should be. Will you celebrate? We don't know the end of the elder son story. Because at the end of the day, we're the elder son, and we have to decide. What kind of person am I going to be? Am I going to rejoice? Or am I going to hang out in a field and stay angry? Will I be like Jonah? Will I sit up in a field, on a hill, overlooking a city that you really hope gets destroyed? Because why does God want those people anyway? You know why Jonah's so upset? It's actually because he knows who God is. It's not because he doesn't know, it's because he does. When he hears that the Assyrians have repented, and he said, God, I knew it. I knew it. You are full of grace and love and compassion, never ending. I knew what was going to happen. That's why I didn't want to go and tell them. Because I knew they'd repent, and I knew you'd forgive them, and I don't want you to forgive them. Jonah is upset, not because he doesn't know who God is, but because he does. He just doesn't like it. The elder son now knows who the father is. But how will he react? How will any of us react when the grace of God becomes real for someone other than ourselves and we're forced to forgive or rebel ourselves? I pray that the elder son said, I'm going to go party. Sounds like they're having a really good time. My brother's back. What else is there to worry about? Youth 10:15.